Go to the next story. That's Jayden Daniels. Do you remember how much we talked about this guy last year as he guided Washington to the NFC Championship? Well, this past season, he did nothing because he was hurt. And now he's got a new OC in, wait for it, David Blau, former Detroit Lions practice squad guy. I think he took a couple snaps. Here's Dan Quinn talking about how Jayden is going to look a little different this season.
It'll look different some, JP, in some ways as we're still kind of building some of the things together. But this is going to be like an aggressive, balanced attack, but like that will probably have more under center than we have in the past. We're going to try to feature every part of Jayden in the way that makes him unique and special. Jayden's a big part of our thinking in all the things that we do. He wasn't a part of the staff selection, but like he drives a lot of the thinking and how we can feature him and where it goes. And so having the ability to connect with him, that's certainly a big deal for us.
All right, so a pretty good stat here, Colin. Warren Sharp, he's a buddy.
Sure.
So he charted under center dropbacks last season, where you're taking snaps from under center.
Okay.
Washington was dead last in the league. 17 snaps the whole season. Under center. Dropping back. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? So maybe that's why they move off Kingsbury. They need to change it up. So now Jayden will be under center more. Guess who happened to be under center the most, as you can see on the chart here? Rams, number 1. Number 2, by the way, in snaps under center, Chicago Bears, number 2. Yeah. And all the teams at the top had a lot of success.
Well, this is why the NFL's great. It's constantly evolving. It was an under center league, then it was a shotgun league, and now the better teams are going back under center when you have a star quarterback. Yep. So, and a lot of people like under center because a quarterback never takes his eyes off the defense. As defenses get more sophisticated, in the shotgun, you look down for a half a second or a second to get the snap, and the defense can shift at the snap of the ball. So a lot of the guys in the league, the offensive coordinators can like under center. So one of the things that is really cool about the NFL, you and I, baseball went forever without making changes, and then Rob Manfred, over like a 3-year period, made multiple changes. They all worked. And baseball now is so much more watchable now than 5 years ago. If you go watch a baseball game 5 years ago, go on YouTube. It's so slow.
Yeah.
It's like a rotary phone. Like, I can't do it. NBA's got things it needs to solve. Bill Simmons was talking about that this week.
All right. I want to talk about Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels and not, basketball. So it is interesting because you got the Kansas City Chiefs at the bottom as well, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not going to get too lost in the whole percentage type thing, but under center also really helps you in the run game and can potentially make you more dynamic. It also kind of depends on the philosophy in terms of what Colin was saying about taking your eyes off. Because sometimes actually when you're under center, your then back will be turned to the defense more in a way. So again, it all depends on how you kind of want to have the discussion. I'm not going to be here to try to debate the philosophy of, what a team shouldn't or shouldn't do in terms of being under center more versus not. I'll leave that up to Sean McVay and Clint Kubiak and Andy Reid. I'll leave it to the guys who truly know football way better than any of us ever will. But it does seem like that is the trend that's going for sure. But for me, it is kind of interesting with Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders because the way how J-Mac kind of brought this conversation up. Remember Jayden? Remember how he played? And that is what continues to irk me about kind of the timeline of Jayden. And it was so frustrating because last offseason, going into 2024, when Jayden was first drafted, I was mega high on him, and it was so awesome, so exciting to see the Commanders keep winning. Jayden have the best rookie season of all time and just do extraordinary things, essentially have a 4,000 passing 10,000 rushing yard, season. I mean, let's be serious. That's essentially what he did if he, played every game and finished fourth quarters and whatnot. And got to the NFC Championship game and just lost to the literal Super Bowl champions, right? No harm in that. In a lot of ways, that was the Super Bowl. People said that about the Rams and the Seahawks. The Chiefs did nothing against the Philadelphia Eagles, right? The Commanders did. That game was close up until what was it, like midway through the third, kind of near the end of the third, when then the tide started to really turn. And then, of course, they hung 55, so it just is what it is. The Eagles were the better team, but still the Commanders still, put up a pretty good fight until they didn't. But no harm in losing to the Super Bowl winner, but they then were not able to follow that up with the injuries and whatnot. And we now see Drake May and Caleb Williams and Bo Nix. And really, Bo Nix didn't get a lot of love. Let's be serious here. It was a lot of Caleb Williams and Drake May. And even the Caleb Williams takes were kind of hot and cold. Everybody was still kind of continued to be split. People, for the most part, were universally praising Drake May, myself included, because I think Drake May is awesome, and I'm really excited to see him continue to grow and evolve. Jayden Daniels had a better season last year as a rookie than Drake May did this year, and Jayden Daniels had to do more with less from my viewpoint, and even had more impressive wins and more impressive performances, especially when factoring in the playoffs against the Bucks, against the Lions, and even against the Eagles. Had all these game-winning drives, all this amazing fourth-quarter stats and whatnot, and yet it was never a serious conversation about Jayden Daniels being the MVP. It was never a serious conversation. It really wasn't. I was trying to have that conversation, but it was never a real conversation. It was never a real conversation. And my whole thing was like, this is kind of crazy because people think that it could maybe be between Lamar and Josh Allen, which is totally understandable. And I'm like, and people praise Lamar for having like a 4,900-yard season, and he created that club. And I'm like Jayden essentially did that, and yet he's not even remotely in the MVP conversation. And it really irked me. And it irks me even more now that I saw Drake May and some of the hype that he got. And we forget just how special Jayden is. And because Jayden now has gotten injured physically, obviously, we look at him as just like, well, he's this skinny mobile quarterback. They look at it through the lens of like a Vic, a Lamar, etc. And I get why we do that. It makes sense. We always need to kind of have some sort of reference point, some sort of frame to try to make sense about that. I ripped Mike Tomlin because Mike Tomlin ripped people comparing Jayden to Lamar. And I was just like, dude, like people just need some sort of frame to have a conversation. Like no one's saying that Jayden, right? Now is the MVP, that like he's achieved more than Lamar, because that's what Mike was like. He was like, we're facing the real MVP or whatever. And it was just like, okay, dude, I get it. You're so cool. And I made the bold statement that I said I'd rather have Jayden Daniels at this point. I think Jayden Daniels is more of a complete football player, more of a complete quarterback at this point in his career compared to where Lamar was at. And I'm excited to continue to see the development. Unfortunately, Jayden now got robbed of an entire season of development because there's just no way he was able to grow and develop. And now they're going to look to do different things from him, from just from a system and an X's and O standpoint, which is now also going to take time to develop and grow and evolve. But people forget that Jayden Daniels is just a great quarterback, not just this athlete who's quick and fast and mobile. I said this before that, like, take away Jayden's legs and he will still be an elite quarterback from the pocket. And then now using his legs and quickness just to kind of, even if it's just to move up around in the pocket and just to kind of extend a play a little bit and not extend a play in the way where it's like, okay, he just went like 5 yards backwards and now he's got to like juke his way through, pretty much what we've seen Jay do, Lamar do, Josh Allen do. Like, even if we take away that aspect or even take away his ability to run for a 20-yard gain and just make him more slippery like Patrick Mahomes does, and this is what I had said going into his career before he ever took a snap, before he ever wore a Washington Commander jersey, I said, you want to follow the footsteps of Patrick Mahomes, not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson, not Michael Vick. Like, use your mobility to be a little bit more slippery. And that's why I actually lean in on designed runs, not off script. Scrambles, because that's where you're more likely to get injured. But the designed runs that allow you to use your legs show that you're a threat, but do so in a way where you can slide, where you can get out of bounds, etc. The constant buying of time and extending plays, you're getting hit in a way where your body's not prepared to be hit. actually one of the most dangerous plays is actually just being hit in the pocket. Weirdly enough, it actually is, because you're not ready for the contact. If you're doing a designed run, you're bracing for the contact. So your body's just contracting, and you're literally bracing. And so it's actually the injury rates are actually higher. It's pretty fascinating when you look at some of that, and it's going to be good data because there's a ton of it, right? This isn't some sort of weird short sample size. Like, this has been we've had quarterbacks like this now. We've been around the block once or twice, and so I am excited to see how his game evolves. But so many of the issues that people have with Abonix or Caleb or Drake, like Jayden does, we talk about accuracy or reading defenses or checking in and out of plays, and just an operation as a whole. If people have any of those concerns or criticisms towards Caleb or something, it's like Jayden does that at a high level. Jayden does that. Jayden doesn't miss. He has his accuracy through the roof and whatnot. And so I'm excited for him to get his redemption. I'm excited for him to kind of continue to develop and grow, but like, everyone's so concerned about his ability to stay healthy and this or that. And it's just like, I'm so confident that even if we just take away all of Jayden's mobility and he just becomes a quarterback where he just has to drop back and let it rip, and know, even when the pressure gets to him, his superpower is to not try to escape. It's just to throw the ball away like Jordan Love does, like Matthew Stafford does, right? Like lots of these other quarterbacks do. Still believe that you're in an awesome situation with Jayden. And I do think, and this is where you do have to be smart, and this is where I didn't love Dan Quinn's answer, because Dan Quinn is not an offensive mind, and so he doesn't know how to unlock Jayden necessarily. And that is where someone like Jayden, who has all of his skill sets that Jayden has, that Dan Quinn brought up, you need the right coach to understand how to develop that, how to balance that, how to say, you know what, that's great that you can do this thing we want to do, less of it though. Like, yeah, it's awesome that you can do, scramble for 10 seconds and throw the ball 50 yards down the field. We want to minimize those plays. We want to minimize those, whatever it is. And that's why I always reference Andy Reid and Mahomes, because Andy Reid and Mahomes have mastered that of just knowing when to do those types of things. And make no mistake about it, Andy Reid had to reel in Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes wants to go, especially early in his career, wanted to go for broke all day, every day. And Andy was like, that's great. You're going to have amazing stats. You're going to have amazing highlights. You're not going to win. Look at his season from 2018 to 2019. It was played completely differently. His yards and his touchdowns were slashed in half. Essentially, it was slashed in half. Yet, they won the Super Bowl in 2019, didn't win the Super Bowl in 2018. Yeah. The way how he played in 2022 was completely different than how he played in, 2020. Like, these things matter, and Andy and Patrick Mahomes himself has talked about Andy Reid reeling him in and how he would try to make plays and do things earlier in his career that he doesn't now, because it's the right thing not to do, right? And that is what I want to see Jayden develop into. And there's no reason to believe that he won't develop into that. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. I don't have a tremendous amount of optimism that we're going to be able to see it this coming season, of 2026. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of in an uncomfortable space with the Commanders in terms of what I believe they can or can't do. I'm kind of just in this like unknown territory right now. And some of the things that I'm hearing, I'm just like, yeah, all of it sounds nice. Oh, more under center, or we want to hit Tara McLaren 10 targets a game. And it's just like, okay, and I'm just like, I just want to see more, I just want to see more. And, need to see Jayden healthy. But I'm a huge believer in Jayden and in what the Commanders can do. But are they, what position are they putting themselves in going into the 2026 season? That's what it's more about to me, more than, just getting a new coach and trying to operate a new offense and developing Jayden, etc. It's all of these things right now. It's all of them. Make no mistake about it. Just because you had success in 2024 and got to the NFC Championship game the way how all this thing is unfolding, it's kind of just like that doesn't matter in a sense of like, oh, you're so close. That means we're really close. We just need to tweak it a little bit. Not the way how this past season has unfolded, right? Not how Jayden has gotten injured and whatnot. New coaching staff, older players. Like, you're not just like, well, we were just there a year ago. We just need a slight pivot. Like, even the Philadelphia Eagles, when they got to the Super Bowl, were literally a play away from winning, and then 23 seemingly fell. Off a cliff. They weren't like, we just need a slight pivot. Like, no, they really transformed their offense. They really transformed their defense. They got new coaches. They got new players. Like, it was a transformation. Yeah, they had a chunk of key players like A.J. Devontae, obviously Jaylen and Lane Johnson and Malad and whatnot, but like they needed to transform their defense. They went out and got Saquon Barkley, right? They went out and got Cooper Dean, Mitchell, Fangio, it was a transformation. And if we follow a similar timeline, if you want to be able to see the Commanders bounce back and be a truly top contender again and even compete for a Super Bowl, you're not just a step away from 24. You're a transformation away from 24. And this is where you have the most freedom and flexibility with Jayden Daniels' contract. So, what do you do with it? To me, there's tremendous pressure on the franchise and the organization right now. And so, I'm locked in to see, like, what are the decisions they're making and where does that lead the Commanders? That's what I'm locked in on, especially throughout this offseason and, of course, obviously going into September, October, November. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders? What they're looking to do this season? The whole under-enter aspect of it. What they need to do to be able to regain the momentum that they had a year ago. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility in the algorithm. Thank you so much.